there is more honesty in the storytelling in South because it's more rooted, right? But you can't completely blame the Hindi film industry for that, because and the fact is that honestly only about 10% of films actually make money. Rest all either break even or lose. This is statistics across the world. No, it's not just here. Okay. Across the world, historically, there is enough data to prove that only about, if you make 10 films, only one film is out of. How does one record harassment? Are we making our understanding of harassment understood better first? And so whoever came, so like if we took at survivors, especially female survivors, who went and spoke about their experience in the report, they were sharing their experiences not to find solutions in the court of law. I think cinema does have very deep influence, and as storytellers, we have to be not censor, but we have to be careful on not celebrating things which are not necessary for a large group of people. I don't feel very comfortable about AI fully. There are ethical issues around it.
Today we're going to talk to an actress who has worked in multiple film industries across India. She has won several awards, including the National Award Special Mention and other state awards. She is an actress, a dancer, and even a lawyer. What can't she actually do? So let's talk to Padmapriya.
Hi,
hello,
Alan.
ma'am.
Hi, Alan.
Welcome to the channel, ma'am.
Thanks so much.
Okay, ma'am.
Finally, we get to talk.
Finally, we get to talk, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
So, ma'am, aside from all the awards, aside from all the educational degrees, who are you, ma'am? What do you feel is your purpose as of now, currently?
Oh, okay. I mean, I was just saying this sometime back that if you love something, truly love something, let it go, and if it comes back to you, then it will always belong to you. So I think being an artist is my true purpose in life. I think I took a break from films at the peak of my career, went off to study abroad, etc. And I think that was extremely important because especially in something like the creative life, monotony can set in. And if it becomes monotonous, then you can't add value to your work. So it was very important for me to also step back, experience life, do crazy things. I've walked for 7 hours in an active volcano, hiked up an active volcano for 7 hours. I have crawled through a cave. I have done met completely new people whom I would have never, if I had not gone to study at NYU in New York. So I think that's also an equally important part of growing up. But I think at this point of time, and I really cannot predict the future because life throws unknowns to you. They say that life is like a park. It's like a Jurassic Park. You don't know what's coming.
Could be a T-Rex, could be a Stegosaurus.
Could be anything. And I hope it's all in good measure. It's always thrown surprises in a good way for me. So how life evolves is a different thing. But I think inherently I'm an artist. I love dancing. I love acting. I love creating things, telling stories. That's what's inherently me. But that I can afford to be that only because I'm a very curious person. In life, they say it's very important to have passion, but I think how would you know what's your passion unless you're curious? So I always underscore that it's important to be curious. Life is a lesson every day. I meet you, I talk to you, I learn something from you. Tomorrow I may be doing a character and I think, oh, Alan smiles like this. Let me use that. So, but that can only come.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. I will find something. I do use that very surreptitiously. You will also not know you've used it. Otherwise, you'll come behind me for copyrights. But no, I mean, I think it's really useful to be curious, observant. There's so much that the universe gives us. And, one of the best ways doing this is I used to write letters to my father, and I still write letters to friends, etc. And when you actually start writing what you did in a day and start sharing what you did in a week or the last month with your friends or whomever you're writing to, is when you realize how rich your life is. Somewhere, in today's times, we're so stuck in this humdrum
in this texting world where everything is so short. When you write a letter,
everything is so short, and even our attention spans, more importantly, are so short that we ourselves don't know what all we've actually managed to achieve to survive a day. And in a way, writing letters, connecting with friends in ways which are alternate to WhatsApp, helps you relook at your life. And also therefore make you more curious. So I think this is it. Inherently, I'm an artist. Inherently, I'm a curious person, which is what makes my artistic life richer.
I've read somewhere that you said that your first film was for the sake of a friendship.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
So you never did you come from a filmy background?
No,
I do
nothing.
not think so.
Nothing, absolutely nothing like that. So the only reason my photographs were, so I had this real craze to become Femina Miss India. And I didn't come from any of that background. And because I wanted to become a Femina Miss India, I started ramp modeling by the time I was 12 and a half, 13, even before I entered my teens. I started earning money as a ramp model. And then somebody said, your face is very great for camera, you should do press. So I thought I had to do all this to get to Femina Miss India, right? Because neither my family comes from the fashion world nor cinema world. And that's how my photographs started circulating amongst ads, casting ad agents and all of that. And my first stint with camera or moving camera was when I was 15. I was 15 and I did a music album. It was for a friend. At that time, it was his first music. It was like he was making like what do you call? You make your portfolio, right? As a director, as an actor.
The starting.
It's like you were an ex-lawyer. You would have done a few cases as a way to or you like intern with a law firm.
I think it's everybody has that short film base, where short film phase.
Film phase, or like you have to make your profile of work. Otherwise, how will people know what you can do, right? So he was doing it, and I was like, okay, I'll do. And I've got some little money and stuff also. So first stint with a moving camera was for R.P. Patnaik's portfolio. And then R.P. very soon after, he's much elder to me, but very soon after his first film came out and it was a huge hit. And I continued my education. I did my MBA Finance right after. I won my Miss AP. I was going in the trajectory of Femina Miss India. I had no idea I wanted to become an actor. So when I got my first job, is when I started applying for Femina. And I went to it. I got selected in the first 20, 30, I think. And then I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. And thereafter, I just started doing ads, etc. Because people had. So if it was a weekend, then in between my job, I would just go and kind of do a photo or ad or something like that. In Bangalore, that was. And then RP had by that time become a very established big music director. And he said, hey, I'm doing my first film as a director. Will you do it? And I said, listen, I'm working. Now, in between all of this, if you can figure a time, then and then I was like, why not? Like a paid holiday, travel holiday, why would I not do it? And so it was a remake of a Malayalam film by Kalabhavan Mani had done the original version, and RP was playing the lead character in that. That's how my career started.
Now you said that when you're in Tamil Nadu. So I want to ask you, you talked about horrible experience you had in the film set of Mirugam. I've read about it. I've heard you talk about it on multiple interviews. So, ma'am, other than the bad experience, what are your fondest memories of Chennai, Tamil Nadu?
I've actually only had very good experiences.
Okay.
And I don't like, we talk about Mirugam this way, but there's so much that I have enjoyed being in that part of that film. It was a choice that I made.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody has compared me. I won a state award for that film, actually.
You gave a spectacular performance in that. Most importantly,
no, I mean it was a very well written story, and so one has to give it to the filmmaker for that. Whatever happened, and everything is a learning lesson. Life is always about ups and downs, so I don't see it that way. I've been very fortunate that I have worked with very compelling filmmakers who are very clear about what they wanted, especially in Tamil Nadu itself. In Tamil Nadu, I think in all my Tamil films is where I've had actually compelling author-backed roles. If you look at, it's very interesting. I keep asking Vishnu this, for instance, director Vishnu Vardhan, that how is it that you saw me on the edit table playing Vasanthi in Tavamai Tamil, then gave me something like Saro in Pattiyal, opposite Arya, because they are such such different characters. One is this like super vibrant, vivacious, I will say anything. And then there's Vasanthi who's like, oh my God, I'm like stuck in life. I don't know, shit, I fell in love with a man. From that to like, hey, come man, I will like make out with you kind of a human. And he said, no, I just saw your face. And I said, oh my God. And I saw one of your scenes and I was like, no, she is my Saro. So I have had directors who came with that very strong conviction. I know these are times of having intimacy coordinators, and I completely value their presence in sets and all. But I've only worked with filmmakers. Like I remember the first time I have done an intimacy scene was actually in Pattiyal with Arya, and it was a very small sequence. But you know, and they say in cinema the most difficult things to shoot is intimacy and action, and it was a new thing for all of us. Vishnu was second time filmmaker with that. Neerav was just starting out as a cinematographer. For Arya, it was a second film. For me, it was a third
somewhere film. That it's like it's an actor's nightmare to
it's
do
an actor's nightmare
to do an intimacy.
Yeah, and I feel like a male actor's nightmare. I have always felt whenever I have done the few intimacy scenes, the male actors are always like, oh my God, what is going to happen? They don't know what to do. Women are far more comfortable with their bodies, perhaps. I don't know, maybe I am. And I'm also open to the experience. If a character in a story requires, and I trust the director that they're not going to titillate and use it for titillation, then I will happily do it. I mean, I remember in for instance, in Viragam, there was a sequence where she's making love to her husband, and I thought that was a very important sequence. I'm not necessarily very comfortable with it. Adi was definitely, as his first film, definitely not comfortable doing it. But it was very important because it was a story of an AIDS patient, and it was about a wife accepting her man for what he is, in spite of having acquired the ailment, not by sleeping around with through prostitution. And it was important to show her acceptance. Is it necessary for every wife to do that? Absolutely not. Like to self-indulge in that kind of an experience. I'm not saying that. But for that story, it was important to do that. So as long as the filmmaker is very clear, I have been very comfortable, whether it was intimacy, whether it was... I still remember when I did Karta Pakshikal with Kamarusa, I was like, I don't know what a street beggar does. He's like, what do you mean? You've never seen Street Beggar? I said, yes. But how do you expect me to be dirty all the time? I don't know how to be dirty all the time. Literally, I would smell bad. And I remember for the entire, it was a 30-day shoot. I would have had baths twice in those 30 days in Kerala heat during summers. No, because there was no point. Like we were shooting almost 15, 16 hours. I would have had to again get dirty with mud. It was plain laziness. It was just laziness, bro, nothing else.
A lot of my friends.
I was like, anyway, you to go and do this. But at some point, after the 4th day, I realized how miserable one's life can be without cleanliness.
Yes.
Like, people ask, oh, do you like to have a bath every day as a matter of privilege? But you don't realize for a lot of people, just having bath can be...
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury, right? And I remember when I said, I don't know, then he said, and I fortunately had a break for that film. So he said, go and you'll figure it out, Priya. I have full confidence. So I remember saying this and I was like, oh my God, this is like way too much for a 23-year-old to like know.
I'm working through multiple industries. You've done from Malayalam to Bengali films. So could you detail a few experiences that stand out with respect to these industries, like that differentiate between the industries? Sometimes maybe the state itself has a different culture, has different...
Oh, yeah. That's why that's why I enjoy doing different films, right? Like Tamil films and storytelling is very rustic. When I say rustic, I'm not saying rural, but it's very topical to Tamil Nadu. Even if it's a Chennai-based story, it'll be very Chennai. Like, even if you take, what is that Trisha Vijay Sethupathi film, which is a love story?
96.
96 is such a Chennai story. Yeah. Yes, maybe people outside Chennai can understand, but people within Chennai would like... would have a very different connection.
Relate to that story much on a much different level.
Yeah, and also I feel like the visual language of directors here, it's somehow very Tamil. I don't know how to explain this. Like when you say a Scorsese film, right? Like let me take a generic example. The minute you see Godfather, you'll say, oh, this is a Scorsese visual. So I'm saying that aesthetic of Tamil filmmakers is very Tamil. So when an Atlee makes even a masala commercial film, it will be like an Atlee film. Or a Ravi Kumar sir makes a masala commercial. I'm talking even about like the mainstream standard male-led commercial films also have a very Tamil, representation to it. But you go down to Hindi, it's that they are serving a wider platter of
audience.
population, and it's of course more meant for the Hindi belt. So their visual aesthetics are different. But there again, I have the two films that I have worked on, which is Chef and Striker. Striker was completely about Bombay carom culture, and that's very particular to that space. Chef was actually about a Mallu girl married to a Punjabi man. So I mean, but the aesthetic is like very, very visual aesthetic is very different. Working style wise, I think off late I see, like at least in like Bombay, the film industry, and I've done very little to actually be able to make a representative statement, right? So I don't think it'll be fair. But at least in Chef, for instance, I know at least 50-60% of the HODs, the head of departments, were women. We see more women assistants and things like that. In Wonder Woman, when I was working with Anjali, that was the case. And perhaps because she has a crew, even though she's making like a Southern Indian film, her crew comes from all parts of the country. So, but I think it's very much a function of the filmmaker. But if you had to specifically look at industries, then each of them have their own style of working. In Malayalam, turnaround time for making a film is much lesser. So you don't have to commit to so many days. So the same thing with Bengali films or Marathi films. Turnaround time, because you have to make it within a restricted budget. So even in Tamil, I haven't done like big masala films or anything. But even then, if you're making even an independent film, I have spent much more time doing that than say I would have done a Malayalam film. So I think these are all like, but also things are so rapidly changing with technology and so approaches, and especially now with the new OTT boom, I feel like these differences are becoming more pertinent and also less pertinent. In the sense, they're becoming more pertinent because people want to see more stories which are diverse, which are particular to a certain community in a certain region. But they also want to be palatable to a larger, because your audience is no more just India. Like even a Hindi film is not just being, or a Hindi series is not just being watched by like a Black Warrant or I think, what is this?
I think recently Mamuka posted, not recently, sometime back, a Malayalam movie was being watched as far in Jammu. They were
exactly.
celebrating
like
that
within
film.
India itself, there is so much of access to them. Before and all, a Malayalam film would not even get a theater in Bombay and all that. Today, like there are 3-4 shows when a film releases, and not just that. Like Dabba Cartel, for instance, is #1 in Indonesia, Korea. So those are things which never were there as options. And I think that's great for storytelling, no matter how much the industry is going through pain right now, figuring out its economics. But I still feel it's a great time because the audiences now want all kinds of stories and they all want it to be shot with a certain production value. And I think it's a great time for actors and filmmakers alike.
Ma'am, now there's a lot of debate regarding on social media among the viewers regarding South versus North. Regarding films, they're saying that South Indian films are far superior compared to Bollywood. As an actress who has worked in both multiple industries, do you feel that there is a change in, there is a superiority in content quality?
I think I've actually written an op-ed for your publication only on this.
Because Andra Kashyap says that definitely there's something like that.
So I'll tell you this, like there is more honesty in the storytelling in South because it's more rooted, right? But you can't completely blame the Hindi film industry for that because, when filmmakers there come from all parts of India. Now, in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala, even if Kochi or Chennai is the base, they all come from within many parts of Tamil Nadu. You're not having a Hindi person come here and make a Tamil film. You're having a Tamil person from Madurai come and do a Tamil film, a Tamil person from Erode or Coimbatore or one of these smaller towns and villages and come and do their films. So there is a certain honesty and filmmaking when you have that kind of a rootedness and the kind of stories which get told. And that's the same thing with Bengal and other places. I mean, Bengal is not making as many good films, but if one had to, they could, if they had the resources. If they had the resources, it could be a space where you could make films. Marathi, for instance, makes very good films. All of this comes because of the rootedness of the filmmakers. Having said that, I at the end of the day, if you ask me, and when I say, okay, I'm going to go into a little more detail. Even our 100 crore, 200, 300 crore, like, that's why I said an Atlee film will be Atlee film, a Ravi Kumar film will be Ravi Kumar film, a Shankar Sir's film will be a Shankar Sir's film. Visually, I'm saying very different and very particular and very rooted within the Tamil culture, but at the same time, specific and being honest to that genre which they are doing. And that could be a miss, but I still feel that somehow there has been a chase towards these 400, 500 crore films. And I don't think, and unfortunately now in Malayalam we started going behind these 100, 200 crore films. And in Malayalam, I don't ever remember. People just wanted to make a hit. And the fact is that honestly, only about 10% of films actually make money. Rest all either break even or lose. This is statistics across the world. No, it's not just here.
Okay.
Across the world, historically, there is enough data to prove that only about, if you make 10 films, only one film is out of.
Because the statistics in Malayalam film industry is mind-blowing. We see an industry we thought that was doing so well, but money-wise, it's just 2-3 movies that actually make a profit.
Make profit, right? So we should not be chasing that.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be chasing 100 crores, 400 crores. There are certain stories which will do, which will be meant for I think even in journalism, right? There will be certain news stories which will hit headlines no matter what.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you don't cover other stories.
Yes.
And I think in the OTT world today, that's become far more significant and important because people are seeing they're seeing a Korean love story, a Korean startup story, they're seeing like a story from Algeria. People are seeing all kinds of stories and they're like saying, and now there is also a phone is in the hands, content is being consumed by a trans person, by a LGBTQI community person, a person who's a woman, a person who's a man, of a lower class, higher class, all poor, varied castes. With all this diversity, all of these people are watching on. How long will they see the same 400, 500 crore film?
Yeah.
They want to see their stories told. So I feel like that issue, I have to beg to differ from Mr. Kashyap, but I have to beg to differ because that is an issue that we need to consider. That we need to have diversity in our storytelling, and earning 400, 500 crores is not important. What is important is that you make a film. If a film is supposed to reach 100 people and therefore it should be made only in 4 crores, for instance, then you make it within 4 crores, make sure those 100 people watch it. And therefore what we need is good producers. We've lost that culture of good producers, and that's what we really need. And we have amazing storytellers, I mean, I keep saying this, we are the 8th largest book publishing country in the world. We produce 90,000 fictional titles. We are a storytelling country. We have enough stories and enough great stories to tell. And all those great stories need not make 400, 500 crores. And today you have fortunately got a market where those those kind of very diverse stories are willing to be seen by, you have a consumer base. And I'm not saying LGBTQI community in India, you have LGBTQI community in the world who is willing to see an Indian LGBTQI person's experience. So when you have such a wide canvas of the market, what we really need is good producers who will back great storytellers. So diversity, I feel, is more important, and I don't think that is lacking. That is only there in South and not there in North. I think we can have diversity everywhere and lots more of it.
Yes, ma'am. Now, as you were talking about diversity, ma'am, one of the things that I feel is that when you look at roles especially given to women actresses, you see them now. I feel that the trend is going in a way where strong woman roles are coming out, but you don't see
enough of them.
Not enough of them, ma'am. You don't see those eccentric roles or something different. For instance, a Shammi from Kumblangi Nights. How would that, if an actress was given such a role, or a Ranganan from Avesham?
Yeah.
Those type of roles. Do you feel that? Do you feel that? Can you relate, ma'am, or is this something?
No, absolutely. But see, that's why I feel like Tamil filmmakers do far more justice to female characters. And I'm not doing this as a comparison between Kerala and, for instance, if you look at, I keep saying this term with all good fondness and positive vibes. that in Yovindra Pustakam, the character, you can make another part 2 of Yovindra Pustakam with, sorry, what was her name?
Rahil.
Rahil, right? Rahil is herself like a full-fledged story.
Yes, ma'am.
And she's as eccentric as one
Yes,
can
ma'am.
expect.
I was going to ask that question, ma'am. As you played an anti-heroine and you stood toe to toe, I saw the movie.
And there are like 10 scenes in that film,
yes.
right? Like, but I mean, I would love, whether I do it or not. I think Rahil is such a fascinating character by herself that one can make a full-fledged film in it. And that's what I'm saying. What we need is really gutsy producers. But I think what we need to understand is, are we making relatable characters? And I think in the process of trying to tend to cater to a market, you end up not making anything for the market and not end up making any authentic characters. Also, I think there's a much bigger issue in hand. The mainstream understanding of what is a female-led story is very limited.
Yes, ma'am.
And I keep saying that because I read a lot of books.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and when it comes to books, you have men in their 50s writing a book, you have women of all ages writing their books, we have people of different castes, gender, sexual disposition writing their stories. Yes, and so you realize that the diversity of stories are very, very high.
Yes,
it's not reflecting in the mainstream arena, right? And what do I mean by that? Like, whenever we think of a strong female character, we always think of Great Indian Kitchen.
Yes, ma'am.
Or you think of a Jai Jai Jai. I'm not saying that it's not.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not saying that those stories are not real or not true or not representative of our lives. But a Saro in Pattiyal come for 10 days, or comes for 10 scenes, or a Rahil in a Yovindra Pustakam. And I'm only taking my characters right now. There are many other characters as well which people have played, including many, many good female actors, are never cited. And there are as much mainstream films.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is because we assume that a full-length character only is a woman-centered character. I know stories where a woman, and I'm talking about women characters because you're talking about female characters. I can tell you about fascinating male characters that I have not seen on screen. You think that there are a lot of eccentric male characters that have been made. I don't see people like you or my partner on screen. Also, I'd love to see a lawyer turned journalist. I mean, how do people make those shifts? What are the reasons? I don't think those are things which we explore even for male characters. So, according to me, it comes down to diversity.
Yes, ma'am.
And it comes down to the faith that you're telling a true story. It's not always about the length of the role as much as the impact of the role.
Yes, ma'am. Coming back to your career, your acting career, ma'am.
If there is anything called a career, I have a trajectory. I don't know if I have a...
Ma'am, you're going...
No, I have a trajectory. What do you mean? Like, I mean, career sounds very, oh my God. It sounds like, oh my God, now I have to deliver.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
yeah, I have a trajectory, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Now, you have been a fearless voice, according to me, against any form of injustice, discrimination in the industry.
In my workspace, not in the industry. Yeah.
In your workspace, ma'am. Has this ever affected you, ma'am? With respect to chances, with somebody coming up and telling you, please don't do this, something like that?
See, these are not, nobody comes and tells you any of these things,
Yes, ma'am.
right? But the way I see it is very different, Alan. I owe my ability, I don't consider it courage or bravado or anything like that. I really believe in standing up for what is right or what is fair. And that's important because, there's this very popular saying, right? If there is injustice happening somewhere and you're silent, then you're going to be the next person.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so faces injustice. So I do feel like we as a society are responsible for what the society becomes. And it is unacceptable if I keep quiet. Because tomorrow that by keeping quiet, I will face the same thing, and then who will come and back me up? And even the point is not about somebody coming and backing me up. More importantly, can I resolve the issue right away? And so I think standing up for somebody doesn't need any extra courage. It's what somebody has to do. And for me, fortunately, it comes also naturally to me because my father was an army officer. when he talks about his, when he was 21, he went to war.
Oh.
And it's not a nice thing to have war. He's not very proud of the idea of having war. But bravado was not something which he celebrated. It came naturally to him. My mother is an extremely confident woman as a single parent from the age of 19, because my father's postings and stuff. And she'd always be the single mother from the age of 19. I can't imagine becoming a mother at the age of 19 and actually educating myself, making a career out of myself. She's a career
I hardly
person
knew.
as well.
I didn't even know which career choice I had to pursue at 19.
Exactly. And by that time, by the time she was 21, she delivered me. She'd already had like 2 kids, and then she chose to study and then pursue her whatever she wanted to do. And still, she feels her life is not complete at this age. So I come from a family where finding your voice was, and they make me grow up, and my brother grew up as very independent people. And I don't know about courage and strength, but we were told to be very assertive because we had to, we were not from very well-off, rich families or anything. My parents had to they came from poor families, and then slowly they became middle class. Now is when they are upper middle class. And it took a lot of strife. I remember my father had to quit his job, quit army to be able to fund my master's in business administration. So there was a sense of responsibility as well. It was not that it was coming from a space of, class privilege or anything at that point of time, at least. But at the same time, they also asked us to be curious people. They asked us to follow what we wanted to do, and they made us grow up as independent people. And if you want to grow up as an independent person, if you're not able to assert yourself, you can't be independent. Right? There's also a very interesting thing my uncle and my mother say, that independence is broken down into 2 words: in plus dependence. And if you feel that freedom comes without responsibility, that's silly too. Just because you can't rake an issue for the sake of it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You have to feel wronged. And if you feel wronged, and therefore you want to right the wrong, and that's when you should speak about it. And just to right the wrong, you can't be immature and disrespectful to the other person either. That's not how you are going to find freedom.
Yes.
And so there's also a sense of responsibility that they have cultivated in us about asserting our independence. So I personally feel that when you take a stand, you have to think before taking a stand. And once you have taken that stand, then you stand by it. And maybe in the short run, some benefits will be lost. But I'm here for the long run. I'm here. I hope I have a long life, long enough life to pursue all my dreams. And I will pursue it with every honesty. And as I said, life is a park, like a dinosaur, Jurassic Park. So you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes,
but for that, you don't need to compromise on today.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, as you said, taking a stand. So, ma'am, I'm sorry, I have been asked multiple times about this. I just wanted to ask.
I wish you asked somebody else, especially people who don't take stands, but yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So, the Hema Committee report, ma'am.
Okay.
So, it came out. A lot of people came out with horrific revelations. What were they subjected to? We were reporting on it. I have interviewed few of the victims myself.
Survivors.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
No, you don't have to be sorry. Yes, you're learning. Everyone is learning. So
everybody is learning, ma'am. So, and they had very bad stories to tell, ma'am, about these people who we thought were great in their fields, but they had very bad stories to tell.
And people can be good at their work. Doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah, but that is the problem. We think that once they're good in their work, we immediately think of them as a great, and a great can never do wrong, is what we think. It's I think unconsciously, I made that mistake unconsciously. But as you said, ma'am, everybody is learning, especially in these fields. So, but now, ma'am, I feel that there's nothing more of a bad. It's not other than a bad mark it left. It hadn't had much of an impact. Do you feel the same, ma'am? Because the High Court recently said that none of the people are coming forward. They banded together an SIT, a special investigative team, to go after them, but nothing was happening.
I think our legal systems have to, when the report was established, by the Kerala government, it was very clearly told to survivors, and then they were not even survivors. They were people who were talking about their experience in the industry or their observation of the experiences people are having in the industry. And it was not just women; it was all different kinds of people who were working in it, right? So, as I have mentioned in my public writings, that the report is not just about sexual misconduct as it's being made out, but it's also about a lot of labor law violations, constitutional right violations, which is not gender, it is gender agnostic. And I think it should be seen from that light. As to specifically resolving, and so whoever came, so like if we took at survivors, especially female survivors, who went and spoke about their experience in the report, they were sharing their experiences not to find solutions in the court of law. So I don't think at this point of time the High Court's observation is anything like something that we should be surprised about. They were very clearly sharing those experiences, knowing very well that it's going to be confidential, and they were sharing it because they never wanted to report it in the rule of law, in front of rule of law. Now, it is the rule of law's basic mandate that they register any kind of cognizable offences. But it's also true that our legal systems are not tailored to resolve issues which have happened, which have a delimitation or a time period. And it's also important for these survivors to share their story. So what is the resolution is something you should ask a legal person. Because, say, hypothetically, I have had an issue. Hypothetically, say I've had like some kind of a sexual violation which has happened at workplace for me.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is hypothetical.
Yes,
please
ma'am.
don't edit it in such a way where, no, because it's I'm saying this only because we're not running, these are important issues for our society as a whole.
Yes.
This is not an issue of the industry. We're talking about actors that you've looked at. But I can tell you people in the journalism field, people in different kinds of industries, especially when the Me Too movement happened, we've seen that, these issues have happened time and again, many places. And it happens not just to women, it happens to women a lot more. But it happens to men, it happens to trans people, it happens to LGBTQI community people. So harassment is a much larger issue. Okay, one is that. But I think this question should be poised to the legal system as to the POSH Act came much later in 2014. Now, these are offences, crimes which have happened much later, much before. And there are also offences which have happened in workplaces, unstructured workplaces like cinema. I'm sure there are other unstructured workplaces like a construction site, for example, right? Now, how does one go about recording evidence? And I agree that the person who's committed or who's allegedly accused also has rights, legal rights. But I'd like to ask as to how does one record harassment? Are we making our understanding of harassment understood better first? Is the court and our other justice systems, I'm not saying everything is responsibility of the court, but are our government systems, and this is not Kerala specific, right? It's across the country and the world. Are we doing enough for people to understand what is harassment? Because a lot of people engage in that. We realized in our conversations, and I'm going to stop with this because it really, really warrants a much larger conversation. When we talk about labor law violations which have been recorded in JNC, have we actually, and that's not specific to Kerala, it must be manifesting in other industries, in film, in cinema, and I'm sure in all other unstructured workplaces, which is why people are across the board interested in what is the outcome of this work which the government, which the civil society, everybody is right now trying to do to find a resolution to the many issues that have been raised there. A lot of people don't even know what is a labor law violation in the cinema industry. So it's like, for a long time, even paying income tax was considered a burden by a lot of producers. Till the point they were said that, sorry, it's illegal if you don't pay income tax and I can actually arrest you. So unless they're told and unless they are made aware, unless our legal systems, our compliance mechanisms are made to adhere to assuring that our constitutional laws are protected, how do you think a person who is just coming to make a film would know about it? So I think one should look at this as from a more progressive perspective, and I think those changes will be brought. How much that change is going to happen, how soon, is a question that one has to keep nudging. Not just people like me who have been part of responsible.
It's a process. It's not.
It's a process, and we should ask people who take 80% of the salary of a film set. They are far more responsible for ensuring that these changes are brought about. So the industry as a whole have to nudge and bring this change, and the government is equally responsible. The courts are equally responsible, and until the legal systems find a way to record survivors' story from a certain honest standpoint, you can keep asking a survivor, why did you not give the benefit of the doubt to the allegedly accused. And I'm not saying that's incorrect from the perspective of law, but how justified is it from the perspective of the survivor is a question also which needs to be thought through. But I'm not the one who is equipped to respond to that. But that definitely, what is the sense of, what is our understanding of justice is a much deeper question that I think the Me Too movement, if it has raised any other questions about what is my understanding of justice, right? For most people, it was just about sharing a story. But how can we make sure that we can avoid the story being ever made? Is something beyond the implementation
you have to
of
do a lot of thinking.
I think a lot of thinking about what justice needs to be done.
Ma'am, now you were talking about influence from your family, how it made you who you are. But now the Kerala government especially, they have stood up to blame the film industry for a few incidents of violence that has taken place recently in Kerala. A lot of few horrible incidents have taken place, and they have turned against the film industry. Violent movies, especially this movie called Marco that had come out, which was very violent, is what a lot of debate is happening on that ground. Do you feel that can we actually say that violence in a movie influences a person to do violence? Yes, we have I think there are exceptional cases where I think somebody in China was inspired by Drishyam and he did something very similar like what John Duty or Mohanlal does in the movie. But do you actually feel that movies have that kind of an influence on a person?
So I haven't seen Marco, so I really can't remark on a particular film or anything. But on a generic level, I think cinema does have very deep influence. And as storytellers, we have to be not censor, but we have to be careful on not celebrating things which are not necessary for a large group of people, even if that is an honest representation of the truth. I am not saying that our statesmen are not equally responsible. They have to also set example and systems, and the government has to have its machinery to ensure that two people don't hurt each other.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm just talking for cinema right now. I remember there was this very popular German filmmaker who said that I don't think that The Godfather can lead to a crime. I think Reagan's killing was something, President Reagan's killing was attributed to something like that. I'm not sure about the facts, but I believe that there was this discussion and debate at the time when Scorsese's film released, when Coppola's film released, why even for that matter, Kill Bill's maker, Tarantino. And I think there was a very interesting observation made by a filmmaker who, very, very respected filmmaker, I can't recollect his name, but he said that there is a very clear distinction between art and titillation. And if you chose to do it for titillation, then that's not right, and because then that will titillate the audience. But if you make it for art, and you will know the difference between art and titillation, then it's completely fair.
Could be propaganda also, something.
Or propaganda, whatever it is. Like, when it's done for titillation or for a purpose which is not to educate or make you aware. And I'm not saying education from the point of view, it's not a social media awareness campaign or anything like that. But like, for instance, I'm having a conversation with you. This can be presented in different ways. How I choose to present it makes the story what it is. And so I do feel that we should be responsible about what goes on screen, and that we should not do things just for the sake of titillation, but more importantly, to tell a story with all honesty.
Yes, Ma'am, now technology. AI is making large strides everywhere it goes. They're saying that from tomorrow, robots will be performing surgeries. Today morning, I read a
There's
report.
already robotic surgeries which
Yes.
exist, yeah.
Today morning, I read a report where it said that an Italian news publishing agency, had actually generated their first edition of a newspaper completely done
Oh
by
my God,
AI.
what's going to happen to your job, man?
Yes, ma'am. Very scared. Very scared.
Yeah.
But do you think the same can happen to cinema? Because AI, very soon, I think AI.
Absolutely. I think that's where it's heading.
Could AI make another Padmapriya?
I think that's already been done, no? Like in the sense that we've had, was it Mr. Anil Kapoor who sent a copyright violation on his post
Yes,
or
ma'am.
something
But
like
do
that?
you think?
I'm not sure. Of course they can. I mean, of course. I mean, AI is about creating anything which is real life on the screen. And I don't know. I don't know. But I do feel we'll have to see how this evolves. Did we ever imagine that Gmail will change the way we communicate? I don't feel very comfortable about AI fully. There are ethical issues around it.
Yes, ma'am.
Ethical issues of safety, ethical issues of course, creative violation of rights, because how much ever they may say, the content which AI makes comes from the collective creative thought of the humankind, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
I think there are ethical issues around it, but then technology is always, when telephone came in, people thought that it was the ghost.
Yes,
so technology will always have a plus and a minus. It's up to us, again, as I say, as a society, how we kind of counter it. This is a little more dramatic. I feel AI as a technology game changer seems to be far more of a game changer than telephone was. But who knows, maybe because we are in it and we're not able to see the world from outside of it. Now, when I look at what would have been when telephone came in, I mean, I don't think it's scary at all, right? But we need to be aware of the fact that technology does have its ill effects. We've seen what dark web has done to safety of youngsters, So I think we need to be cognizant of the ill effects of technology. But at the same time, I don't think as humankind we've ever been afraid of it. So as a society, what we need to be making sure is that can we create enough countermeasures to make sure that we are safe, well taken care of, and we're progressing better with technology than regressing with it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for talking to us on this wide multitude of topics, ma'am. We went into womanhood, we went into actresses, we went into.
I wish you could go into manhood also, but okay. Yes. The next time I interview you.
Sure. I'll be happy. I'll be more than happy to do that, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this interview.
Thank you for making time.
Thank you, ma'am.